Oh, this is William Steele, True Crime King. Thank you for joining my True Crime channel and podcast. Um, we have an incredible guest tonight, and this guy, Michael Yarbrough. Michael Yarbrough is a retired corrections officer, and this man in 1975 literally claims to have witnessed the actual murder and death of Jimmy Hoffa, and he's reported it years ago to the FBI. And because of the location, not much has been done to investigate his claims. He's been telling the story for years, and with this new technology, we're trying to give him an opportunity to at least be heard. Our condolences go out to the Hoffa family and the loved ones that may still, be alive and aware of what's going on. And we have not made any independent verification of Mr. Yarbrough's claims. I do know that he has been very public about what he's saying. The story seems to remain very, very consistent. So join us for an interesting interview with retired corrections officer Michael Yarbrough. With that being said, here goes Michael Yarbrough. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right. So I introduced the audience a little bit to your backstory, just real quick. Former corrections officer, and your claims to have witnessed not only the burial of Jimmy Hoffa, but his actual murder. Because so first tell us a little bit about who you are and your background. As succinctly as you can, and let's get to the incident. Let's focus on the incident because the whole world's talking about this. They have been for a very long time. There's been a lot of speculation about where Jimmy Hoffa's remains are. It's widely accepted that he is dead. He's murdered. He was Teamster boss back in the day. And so, there's a lot of speculation about this. Now, we're willing to have you on. We know you've been telling your story for a long time. You also had gone to I think you said the FBI?
Right.
Okay, so who is Michael Yarbrough? For my audience who may not know who you are or who Jimmy Hoffa is, who is Michael Yarbrough?
Well, I'm Michael Yarbrough. I'm from Benton Harbor, Michigan, born and raised. I was visiting Detroit when I just turned 18 years old. I had just graduated out of Benton Harbor High School, and I was contemplating on going to Fair State College, but my sister called me. I had just had a son, July the 15th of 1975. It's my firstborn. And she said, well, Mike, why don't you come to Detroit and, take care of your responsibilities, get your job and kind of think about that before you think about going to college, at this particular time. So I came up here to Detroit back in 1975 when I had just turned 18, July the 10th of that year. And like I said, I had my son on the 15th of that year. And so the 30th rolled around, July the 30th. And that's when my sister called me from Inkster, Michigan, which is about 20 minutes west of Detroit, down I-94. And it's like 2.5 hours from Benton Harbor, Michigan, my hometown. So I was born and raised in Benton Harbor. This was before I even started working for the Michigan Department of Corrections. I started working there in 1989. And I was working in the juvenile center prior to that at Barron County 5th District Court in St. Joseph, Michigan, probate juvenile court. But that's neither here nor there. We're going to go back to when I was 18. When I came up here to Detroit, or Inkster, Michigan, which is 20 minutes out of Detroit. I was sitting out in my brother's living room, and I saw a news flash on TV saying they were hiring at this Renaissance Center downtown Detroit. Big skyscraper, tall building. It was building. They had finished phase 1 of the construction of the building. So they invited all the public in to fill all the job positions that they needed filled for 1976, the year after 1975, which would have been a bicentennial year representing the spirit of 1776 and 1976. So they wanted to have a big hoopla about that, ribbon cutting and everything. So in order for them to do that, they needed to fill all the job positions in the building. So I heard they were hiring for for security down there. It's a place called Clean America, temporary employment agency. So I went down to the Renaissance Center. I drove my 1970 green Firebird Pontiac down there, parked in the complete parking structure that was already complete. You know, where you could park your car inside the building back then, and still can't. And open the door, walk in. You can shop in the mall, go to the movie theater. You can pitch pennies in the look. It's like it used to be like a waterfall in there where you can make a wish, pitch your money in there, but it's no longer there. So I went in there and I was on the first floor, and I saw a security guard at the desk, and I said, where is Clean America, which was the temporary agency that was doing the hiring that year? He said, well, you go down the escalator and you make a right. So I went down to the ground floor and make a right. So I went down the escalator to the ground floor, and something told me to make a left. You know, I don't know what it was, but I was supposed to make a right and go to Tower 400 to Clean America, but I didn't. Something just told me to make a left. So I made a left, and it took me through Tower 200, which is that tower that's right on your right arm right there. I walked through that tower, through Tower 200. It was complete, but no employees was in there yet. It was freshly new. And so it kept going in like a circular motion. This building is designed in a circular motion. You can easily get lost in there real easy. I don't care who you are, you will get lost. That's how huge this place is.
Right.
But anyway, it kept taking me on over, and then it was this tower, supposed to have been Tower 300, but it was not yet built yet. Tower 400, Tower 200, and Tower 100, and partially the center tower was built. The center tower is right now it's like the tallest hotel in America. You know, it used to be the Westin Hotel, Westin Inn Hotel, but now it's the Marriott Hotel. But anyway, as I was going through Tower 200, which was already complete in phase 1, phase 2 was beginning to get, construction was beginning to get built while they had invited the public in the building.
Right.
So phase 2, here I am facing phase 2, Tower 300, 500, 600 had not yet been built. It was under heavy construction. So I walks up to Tower 300. There was this plastic, this plastic, you can't see through that plastic. It's the type of plastic that you can't see through.
Right, it's like a visqueen.
Yeah, it was this tall plastic up, and you could see the lights hanging, the cords and the yellow cords and the white lights hanging. And to my right, as I approached Tower 300, which was not built yet, there was this entranceway, which it was like a yellow ramp, a little small ramp. And at the back of that ramp, it said, authorized personnel do not enter. Authorized personnel, you got to come in with steel-toed shoes, hard hats, and safety glasses. So at that moment, I heard somebody scream real loud, screaming for help. So I'm thinking, it probably was a construction worker that got hurt, and maybe I can go in there and help them. I'm young, I'm feisty, just got out of high school, pretty little cocky little guy. So I went on in there, and it wasn't about me being cocky or strong or nothing. It was about trying to help somebody that I thought was hurt, because they were screaming real loud for help. So as I knew I wasn't supposed to go in the area because of all the signs saying authorized personnel only, but that was the only reason that I went in there. And as I went through that little door right there, it was like a cement ramp that they had built, a temporary cement ramp, where they could take stuff up and down that ramp down to a level lower than the ground level. And as I went in there, I almost hurt my back trying to go down that ramp because it was so steep. It was like 15, 20 feet, like a steep sliding board,
Right.
And it caught me off balance because I wasn't expecting that, and I almost hurt my back going down that. I remember I almost hurt my back as I was walking down that slope. And as I got down to the bottom, it was nothing but dust, dirt. It was this 8-foot wooden fence all around these 2 pillars that they were constructing. You don't even see fences like that these days right now, you don't see. I haven't seen a fence like that since the 70s. You know?
Sounds like maybe the construction pillars that are built out of concrete and they have wooden forms around them with steel brackets, something like that.
Behind that 8-foot fence, wooden fence, there were those steel brackets around it. It had wood in between it. You know, it was like 4 tiers up. Yeah. The first 3 tiers, which were about maybe 8 to 10 feet wide, 8 to 10 feet long, were already cured. But at the very top 4th tier, it was empty. And as I looked up, I saw these 2 men up there, 3 men actually. It was 3 men up there. 2 of them had dark black suits on, black tie, white shirt, and these dark John Belushi style glasses, like the John Belushi style. And
this environment was in a sub level. It was dark or well lit up down there. I mean, how?
Well, as I looked up, I could see like a big square area entranceway, and it was light there. Okay. But in the inside there was just all dirt and, you know, construction where trucks could pull in and out. And there was a cement truck sitting up there. It wasn't really dark. I could see the people plainly. I could see their faces. I could see. What
time of day was this? What's it about?
This was at approximately 3:20 p.m. in the afternoon.
So this was this was an active construction site with a lot of activity, or just
it was a lot of activity, but strangely enough, there wasn't hardly enough people. There weren't a lot of people there. I can only see the 2 mobsters holding the man Jimmy Hoffa in the middle by the arms. I could see a little fat chubby guy sitting in the burgundy Mercury Marquise over right behind them with the trunk up and his lights on. And I could see the cement truck sitting over here with his gurney down in that hole, that last hole that was there right beside those 3 men, Hoffa and the 2 mobsters. And over to the right, I could see a man with a construction hat on, and he had this hammer. And as Hoffa was yelling for help and screaming for help loudly, the guy with the hammer started saying on the cement, trying to drown him out, you know. But I could still hear him hollering very loud for help, you know. And at that moment, they pushed him in the hole. And then the cement truck, it was turning slow at first, and then it started turning real, real fast. And I could see the concrete cement gushing down the gurney on top of this man. You know, they buried him alive. Yeah. And then the next thing I knew, there was this dark-haired man. I found out it was one of the Genovese crime family members, Thomas Andretta. He was a hitman for the Genovese crime family, Anthony Provenzano crew. I guess he was one of their soldiers earning his stripes. I don't know, but that's what they say they do. But he approached me. We were face to face. He took his John Belushi glasses off. He had the same identical attire that the other 2 men that had Hoffa by the arms had on. Right. So he stood there. He opened his coat up. He showed me his gun. He had one of those shoulder type holsters with his gun in there. And he told me immediately, say, you better keep moving or you're going to be next. So I threw my hands up, you know, young, you know, I don't know what's going on. I threw my hands up and said, man, you ain't got to worry about me. I'm out of here. Right. So as I walked away, something told me to look over my shoulder, and he was coming at me full force. So I started running real fast. You know, he couldn't catch me because I had just got out of high school running track, cross country, you know, high hurdles. He couldn't catch me. Right. So I eluded him, and I went over to Tower 400, which was already complete. People were everywhere. Now, I'm sure he wanted to shoot me, but he couldn't because it was too many people. You know, I don't know what stopped him from shooting me while we were still in the construction zone. I guess it was just the will of God. That's all I can think of. You know, the will of God protected me that day to be able to live to tell you what I saw 47 years ago. So I ran over to Tower 400, and I saw this sign saying men and women's restroom. So I immediately ran into the men's room. It was like 12 stalls in there back then. Now it's only 4. I ran into the first stall in that door, and you could see at the bottom, like maybe 3 or 4 inches, you could see underneath the I immediately got up on the toilet first of all, and I was shaking like Don Knotts, peeing on myself, man, actually peeing on myself. Right. And I could look under the stall area there, about 3 inches up, and I saw these black shoes. The guy that told me to keep moving them, or I'm going to be next, Thomas Andretta. I saw him step inside the door right there. His 2 feet, black shoes, and he stood there maybe 3 seconds and turned right around and walked out. So now I'm like, wow, all he had to do was kick the door in, maybe, and shoot me, but he didn't. You know, I guess he thought the noise would bring some attention. So, or either that, or he was trying to catch his ride in that burgundy car out of there, because they had done the dirty deed and they was ready to go. Right. So he didn't have time to do me in. He just had the time to bury this guy and get away from there. You know, and all this happened in a 90-minute time span. From the time he walked out of that bathroom, I stayed in there maybe, I'd say a minute or two. Walked out, I looked around the corner. Excuse me. I looked around the corner both ways, scared as hell still. I didn't see him. So I walked maybe about 15, 20 feet to this door. And as I opened the door, it was the second parking lot on the Bobian side, which was the dirt area. They was building the second parking lot where they had him at. All that was intended to be Tower 300 and the parking lot structure. On the other side of the building by the Canadian Bridge, the Atwater Bridge, that's the side I pulled in with my 1970 green Firebird Pontiac and parked over on that side. Right. But, so I went out, excuse me, I heard him shut that door, and I went back in the direction where I ran in at to the bathroom, which took me out on the Canadian side, Atwater side, where the Canadian Tunnel is. And as I looked out Atwater to my left on the side of Tower 400 back there, I saw that same burgundy car, which now I know who was driving. It was Chucky O'Brien driving it. That's the fat chubby guy I saw behind the wheel. He was coming around the Tower 400 real slow with his lights on. I got scared again, ran back in the building and went in Tower 100 and got on the toilet for about 15 or 20 minutes, thinking, wow, am I going to ever are they in the building still looking for me? Right. You know, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should go out and try to tell somebody or just try to get back to my car and go back to Inkster, Michigan. So some told me to just go on out. And that's maybe 15 minutes later, I went out and I found the parking garage where I had parked my car, which I really wasn't sure if that's the way it was supposed to go. I just was rambling around through there trying to find the parking structure.
Right. It's confusing.
You know, you got to remember, I'm just this little country boy up here in this big city, not knowing nothing, not knowing which way to go or what to do. So I finally found my car. I got back in it. I went to Inkster, Michigan. I told my brother and my sister and his wife, I said, wow, man. I said, I just saw something that happened. It was terrible. They just buried this man downtown, you know. And I explained to them who these people looked like and everything. They said, Mike, that's the mob, man. You gotta leave those people. Don't say nothing about that, man. They'll kill you and the whole family. Because I didn't know nothing about the mob.
So at that time in 1975, who specifically did you tell? Your brother?
I told my brother and my sister and his wife immediately after I got back to Inkster. 20 minutes later, after this happened. Right. So it was going on 4 o'clock. You know.
Would any one of them be willing to also come on for an interview to explain your state at that time?
They don't remember. That's the funny thing about it. They don't even remember me telling them about it. You know, I said, don't you remember when I told you about this? It's 47 years ago now. I just brought it up in the last 20 years. I just brought it back up.
Right. And to you at that age or any age, witnessing a murder, that's imprinted in your mind forever, especially the man was begging for help You know,
Yeah,
the humanity. We're crime victim advocates now, so I know the humanity inside of you wanted to do everything you can to rescue him, but then we're hit with fight or flight, and it was going to
tell me about it.
yeah. So you had to make a decision. So that's imprinted on you forever. So you
Well,
mentioned
it traumatized me for life. You know, right to this day, I'm still traumatized because I don't know who might be who or who might do what. You know, I'm still worried about it tremendously.
Have you ever sought counseling or anything to try to work out your
Oh yeah. I done been to psychiatrists. You know, they believe me, you know, somewhat. You know, some of them looked at me like I was a quack and put me on medication, but you know, what can I say? You know, I mean, it do sound like a fictitious story, but I mean, then everybody's saying, why did you wait so long to say something? 27 years. You know why? Because I was fearing for my life. Okay. Would you have came forth and somebody's telling you, hey, you know, leave that alone. I hate to read about you floating down the Detroit River head first, you know.
Especially back in those days, the mob was real powerful then, and there was no witness protection program and all that stuff.
Man, I'm telling you, they terrorized everybody in this city, man, and they still not as much, but back then it was terrible. I'm gonna
Are
tell
any
you,
of the people that were present, to your knowledge, still alive today? You know, I know you researched some of who was actually there from what you saw that day. You know, have you researched today? Are they still alive?
Thomas died in January 25th of 2019. The guy that chased me.
What's his name?
New Jersey. Thomas Andretta.
Andretta. Okay.
Yeah. The Andretta, Chucky O'Brien, he died, I think, right before that. Chucky O'Brien, the driver. But everybody else is dead. Hoffa's dead.
So none of those guys before they got in trouble with the law and said, hey, I know where Hoffa's body is, and gave up a story matching yours. Or maybe they did behind the scenes, and the FBI is never going to tell you that. They might have.
They're not going to never tell me that. And if it was whoever did, they never came forth like me.
Right. Yeah, so
far as I know, I'm the only person alive or dead that knows anything about this.
When this happened, how close were you in terms of feet from this happening? Was it 100 yards? Was it 20 feet?
Well, when I came down that ramp and saw that 8-foot wooden fence and the lights hanging and everything, I looked up approximately 15 feet. The ground floor from where I came from is about 15, maybe 20 feet deep.
Okay.
So I was looking up about 15, 20 feet, which ain't nothing for a person with 20/20 vision to see that distance. You know, I had 20/20 vision then.
So from these guys in a pretty well-lit area.
Yeah, it's pretty well.
When they killed him, you were 20 feet away from this action. You just
I was looking up about 20 feet. Yeah.
Wow. I thought it was a bigger distance than that.
It was very close. Very close. 20 feet is nothing. You know, 15 feet is nothing.
That's close enough to remember faces.
That's close enough. This is how I remembered Hoffa's face, the face you're looking at there. When I went back to Eastern Michigan that next morning, there was a breaking news flash on Channel 2, Channel 4, Channel 7, saying this man was missing. So I said, wow. You know, I'm telling my sister and then and my brother, I said, that's the man that I saw get buried yesterday down at the Renaissance Center.
Right.
That guy right there. That's how I positively identified him, and how I positively identified the man that tried to kill me and abduct me and murder me the day that Hoffa got killed, Thomas Andretta, one of the Genovese crime family members, with Anthony Tony Pro Provenzano. I was reading a mob book one day in the Detroit library. Scott Bernstein had wrote the book. He's the one who wrote my story about the Hoffa hit. But anyway, Scott's book, I was rambling through there one day, just looking at some mob books, and wow, I said Stephen Andretta, Thomas Andretta, Tony Pro Provenzano, and I looked at the man in the middle, and that's the guy that tried to kill me.
Wow.
I'm like, wow. Now that scared the hell out of me, man.
So Bernstein did an article about you, or do you have a book relating to the story?
Yeah, he did an article about my story, Hoffa hit. It's in the Gangster Report. It's all over Google. It's all, you can Google it.
When you get a chance, make sure we have that, so we'll put it up, in the final. But
Yeah, you can find it on Google. All you got to do, Google the Hoffa hit, and it'll
you have a
pop right up.
website about a petition. What's the name of your Facebook page for the audience?
Oh yeah, you can find more information about all of this information. Just go to Facebook and look up petition to find Jimmy Hoffa.
Now, I asked my audience and my fans. I don't know if you're aware of this just yet. I have a TV show called Inmate to Roommate on A&E Network. It airs.
I saw a lot of that. Yeah, I saw a lot of that on Facebook. It's nice, man.
And I've got like a million fans already. So I'm asking my fans to check out this man's Facebook. Petition to find Jimmy Hoffa.
Right.
Facebook. You guys, please visit it, check out his material. Help this man spread the story of see. Now, what do you want done about this? I glanced over the materials. What is your objective in this? One, why did you come forward? Who did you come forward to? And what are you trying to have done about this? What are you trying to accomplish? Considering these buildings are gigantic towers that probably nobody's ever going to want to go take that column apart to look for something. So,
well, this is where we are. I know a lot of people think you got to tear apart the building and do all this and that. If the family wants that man's remains out, I guess that would be part of the issue, but it wouldn't disrupt the everyday business down there. The media do more of that than the construction.
Right,
but this is where we are now. I don't know if I should be saying this or not because it's still a active murder investigation, but I think I'll tell you bits and pieces about it. I went to the FBI in November of 2002, which was about 21 years ago.
Right. Wow.
I had kept it inside for like 27 years in my mind, not saying a word. But when I finally decided to come down to the FBI, I talked to several agents down there. I drew maps and pictures of where I thought this guy was, but I gave him the wrong dates and times and stuff in the wrong tower. Because as you go into that building, if you could ever come to Detroit and go into that building, it's built in a circular motion. It looks like you're going east, but you're actually going toward the river, Detroit River, because it's in a circular motion. So by being so huge I got confused about exactly where the actual location was. But then as time went on and I started contemplating about it and revisiting the area, I started realizing there was 2 parking lots in that building. One was already built when I drove in, and the other one was just getting built.
Right.
And I walked in through Tower 200, and the building that was getting built, the tower that was getting built at the time was Tower 300 in phase 2, because phase 1 was the other towers, Tower 200, 100, 400, and half of the center tower hotel. Right. As I went down and kept revisiting, I finally figured it out. I said, that parking structure where I saw them kill him at, the dirt area, that was the second phase of the construction. That's the tower where he's buried at. So I went back down to the FBI, told him the exact, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years later after I had told him the first scenario.
You went there to try to refresh your memory, basically.
Yeah, I told him I had to go refresh my memory. I had told him I thought it was October, but it was not October. It was July. So as I went on a talk show radio host 1440 in Detroit, one of the young ladies that hosts the radio station, she's a retired corrections officer as well. And she helped me to remember, hey, Mike, she said, the man came up missing on July the 30th. And I said, wow, you know what? That was around the time before I was going to college. That's when I went. I was thinking I had came up here from Fair State and came up here to visit, but it wasn't then. Right. It was before that. It was in July the 30th. That's how everything started getting put in place. I said, wow, that's right, because the next day on the 31st, it was a breaking news flash saying this man was missing.
Right. That's understandable to have shaky memory from so long ago.
Well, after 27 years, I had been trying to blot it out my memory, man, because everybody was saying, Mike, leave that alone. You get everybody killed. So that's what I did. I was trying to forget about it. Everything. I didn't want to think about it. Matter of fact, I left Detroit and went back to Benton Harbor. I didn't even want to think about Detroit no more for a while,
Yeah, you've been
But when
traumatized. That's no doubt. That's no doubt.
yeah, yeah, man. Then when I finally came back and moved up here in '77, I started regaining, refreshing my memory and stuff about this case, but I still wouldn't say nothing until 2002.
Were you still a corrections officer when you came forward?
No, I had retired.
I was going to say, because if you came forward then, you might run into a mobster or somebody that try to take you out in prison to keep you quiet.
It's funny. I could have swore I ran into some of them in there, but I don't want to say. But I could have swore, when they came in there, boy, they was praising them like they were God. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. And so
I'm sure I ran into a couple of them.
Yeah, they would do them any kind of favor just to get some brownie points. So
yeah. Matter of fact, I've met some of the I said relatives, but
so you ran into family members. Who was that?
Well, I don't want to discredit the guy, but he told me he was a relation to Blackjack Toko, one of the crime families here in Detroit, and he was telling me a whole lot of stuff, about what he used to do for Anthony Tony Jack alone, how he used to run errands for him and collect money and beat people up.
Right.
But then a crime writer here in Detroit, a journalist, challenged him with that. I'm not going to mention any names, but he challenged him with that and tore down his credibility on that. Found out he was not any relation to the Toko family.
Right.
And they found out that he was not doing any money for Tony Jack alone.
Can you hold on 1 second, please? There.
Yeah.
The screen isn't moving when I talk like it was the other day. Also, it doesn't have my name and stuff up on here. Huh?
I see your name on this side of the screen.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
And where's my time?
WilliamSteeleAuthor.com.
Okay, so it's on your side. I don't know why. Like usually when I was talking, it was popping up.
Oh, I see it here. It's just it's small.
Is it blue or white over there on your side?
It's white letters with black background.
Okay, I thought it was blue. That's why we leave it like that. Where's also the timer on this thing? How'd it move over there? It used to be over here. Or was that on StreamYard?
I think maybe StreamYard, yeah. So.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so let's continue there. I'll just cut that little piece out. So he was discredited by a crime writer. A journalist?
The guy that said he was some kin to Blackjack Toko, come to find out he was discredited by a journalist here, a crime journalist here in Detroit. And also he was discredited by a podcast, I think it's called a Mob something, but they tore him down really bad. And they booted him off YouTube.
You were interviewed by some other channels, I know that, but you said something about History Channel as well?
Yeah, you can find me and Marvin Elkin, Hoffa's limo driver, on the History Channel with Lawrence Fishburne. He did a story about Hoffa on History's Greatest Mysteries in May of this year, 2022. I was talking about what I walked up on, seeing Hoffa get killed, and what Marvin Elkin experienced down at the Renaissance Center as well. He's a witness, but he's just an ear witness. I'm an eye-ear witness. Marvin heard certain things going down there, and he saw the mad rush for pouring concrete that day when they buried Hoffa, and he was telling the truth about that as well. I seen it.
He was present for the activity that at that moment that you were watching from somewhere else.
Yeah. He was not in the location where Hoffa was getting buried, but he was
not in the location.
No, he was in the building, but he was entertaining one of the mobsters, lighting the cigars and stuff like that. I don't know if it was on the same day, July the 30th, that they had the meeting at the Omni Hotel across the street from the Renaissance Center, but he was there during the time when they were pouring cement, and they had called all the contractors in. It was a mad rush to pour cement and build the steel planks and wood around to build the pillars and the structure of the ground, below the ground level. He was there.
Okay. So at one point, if you went to the FBI, you remember what year that was?
Yeah, it was November of 2002. Exactly, going 21 years now. If you add 27 years of me not coming forth because I was fearing for my life, and add 20 more years onto that, that total 47 years. So it was about 20 years ago.
Do you remember the
when I
name of
first
the
came
agent?
to the FBI.
Do you remember the name of the agents you spoke to?
No, I spoke to so many. I spoke to over 8 agents down there. But the most recent agents that I've been speaking with, they're still active on the case. The most recent agents, I know their names.
What's their names?
Well, I don't know if they want me to.
Oh, okay.
Put their names out there because it's an open investigation. Because
so Detroit
no one's doing nothing to jeopardize the case with them in the Michigan State Police. You know,
is that Detroit FBI office?
It's the Detroit FBI, and I've also passed the information on to Indiana FBI, and the Baltimore FBI.
Why Indiana and Baltimore?
Because we had other altercations in different things that I had got mixed up in, and they was trying to, some scam stuff, and they was trying to let me know not to be a victim of scams, and because they cheated me out of thousands of dollars, over $10,000 in scams. So I reported it to the FBI, and they came and visited my home and had me sign a documentation to beware of these people.
Okay. Now, in the best case scenario, in a perfect world, what do you think, after all your years being right in the middle of this, do you think can be done today to resolve this that is technologically possible? What do you think can be done to resolve this in the best case scenario? What would you like to see done?
Well, where we are now, me and the FBI and the Michigan State Police, I've talked to the agent last Monday that's in charge of the Hoffa Task Force here in Detroit. And he told me, I told him about how in 2018 of December the 4th, me and homicide detective with the Michigan State Police did a walkthrough of the Renaissance Center, and with GPS and camera. And I took him through the whole scenario and showed he's the only person with a badge that I've shown where Hoffa's actually buried at. And 6 months later, some idiot from down at the FBI office that was not even in charge of the Hoffa Task Force, because the agent that's in charge, I told him about it. I said, we were told to cease and desist, me and the Michigan State Police, because it was FBI jurisdiction. He said, well, I ain't the one that told the Michigan State Police to cease and desist. Have them call me right now. So I called the cold case unit down at the Michigan State Police, and I talked to the detective, because the detective that did the walkthrough with me is no longer in charge of in that homicide unit. So they turned me over to another cold case homicide trooper, and the trooper emailed the FBI agent last week, and I'm getting them in touch with each other because the federal agent, FBI agent, told me to do that, and he said this is not a singular investigation here. This is not just our jurisdiction. He's saying a homicide, it's a joint investigation. So he don't know who called that Michigan State Police trooper and told him to cease and desist, but that was not right.
It could have been
right at this moment, they're getting themselves together so we can go in the building, or so the Michigan State Police can go in the building and do a ground penetration search of the area and put forth more evidence to reinforce my tip. Right now, they need additional evidence in order to move forward. Just by me coming forward saying that I saw Hoffa get killed and I was almost killed by a certain person in the mob is not enough. They need more evidence.
Right. It'll be a major operation to try to get it out, but the remains out for the family. But
yeah,
penetrating, it's like a radar. I think
it penetrates through concrete cement. And I can get them close enough to find the void. They don't have to even go directly from the ground floor down 8 feet. They can go on the side of the pillar and get a closer view with the ground penetration device.
From ground level, if you're standing at ground level, how high up now do you think that body would be? Do you have any clue?
You mean if I'm standing below ground level?
Well, if you're standing at the pillar,
yeah,
below ground level, how high up do you think it would be? 4 feet, 10 feet?
Well, he's below ground level. You know, if he's
Okay.
standing on ground level, the big pillar is underneath that,
Oh,
that
wow.
big slab of the ground level slab is up. That's the top of the pillar, the ground level. You would have to go down 15, 20 feet to look up that pillar. You know, he's like you got 4 levels of cement to make each pillar. The first, second, and third level was already cured when I saw them holding Hoffa at the end of that 4th level up there, which was empty.
Right.
The cement truck was there to gurney down, and they pushed him in. He was screaming for help, and they buried him with a whole truckload of cement. So you can imagine, if you look at a backyard above ground swimming pool, that's how big the pillar was around, you know, one of those large backyard swimming pools, which would hold approximately about 5,000 gallons of water.
Has anybody
That's how much cement is on top of him.
has anybody mentioned cadaver sniffing dogs? Because the dogs can smell through a lot, including concrete.
I don't think they can sniff through that much concrete. That was a lot of cement. I mean, the only way they're going to detect this man's remains in that pillar is with a ground penetration device, a scanning device, and it would show a void. It probably won't show a body in there, but it might be some skeletal remains in there. Okay. DNA for sure.
Let me ask this, because you took a polygraph before and you passed the polygraph, or did you offer you a polygraph?
Yeah, I was getting ready to go on Channel 4 with Steve Garagiola. He's one of the news anchors. He's retired now, but his dad used to be a professional baseball player in New York, Garagiola. But anyway, Steve interviewed me to be on the Hoffa podcast. And before he could put me on the podcast, he put Marvin Elkin on there. And Elkin ain't seen nothing, but he allowed Marvin Elkin to be on his show. But I had to go take a polygraph exam. He drove me, came by my house, him and another guy, and drove me all the way to Saginaw, Michigan, which is about an hour and a half from here.
Right.
He introduced me to a retired Michigan State trooper, and that trooper took a polygraph exam of me, the Hoffa, what I experienced and everything. And he could not, the test, the polygraph exam came out to be non-conclusive, which means they don't know if I'm telling the truth or not telling the truth. Yeah. And the door is open for me to take another exam anytime.
A lot of times, if they get an inconclusive result, they'll do like 3, and they'll try to see if they can get something. But, you know, a lot of times those are just what they call investigative tools, because they put people under enough pressure to end up telling on themselves, you know. But right. In a case like this, because that's what I was going to ask you also, if you want to come back for another show, and if we can arrange a polygraph, maybe you could do one for this show and even get more.
Man, I would love to, you know.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll see that I'm telling the truth, you know.
Let me ask you this.
Polygraph exams are not admissible in court of law, but
no, but it goes.
You're telling the truth. You're telling the truth. If you're lying, you're lying.
It goes a long way for investigators to really say, look, you know, this guy has the ring of truth. It sounds truthful.
I would love to take a polygraph exam by someone that's experienced, you know, a non-connected law enforcement exam.
Right. I'm brand new doing this, but I think I can put feelers out there and see if we can get somebody who's legitimate to do it, and maybe we get you on camera as you do it, or like put the camera off to the side, and then we could put the results and everything on there. Or if you know,
that would be nice.
Yeah.
If you can work that out, let me know.
Let me start working on that. But the other thing is, and obviously they're asking you to take a polygraph. You were in law enforcement. This other guy who was a known mobster associate or maid guy, whatever he was, a driver, he didn't have to take one. So now I'm going to ask you that the elephant in the room. Do you think you would treat it differently because you're a black man coming forward with this information? Because a lot of people might say that right now.
You know, I hate to throw out that race card, man, but
I hate.
I think if I was a female or a white male, I think they'd have been in that Renaissance Center, you know. But by me being a black male, I don't think they take me too seriously.
Which is a shame.
In law enforcement or not, you know.
Right, that's a shame in general, but you especially haven't been in corrections and law enforcement. I mean. Oh, all right. So let's see if we can't figure it out.
It's funny you said that, because someone else asked me that question on another podcast, and I told them I just don't want to throw in that race card.
Right,
you know,
Because if you keep calling agents names and saying that they might be racist, then all of a sudden they don't want to work with you. Period. So I'm not
right. I don't want to do that.
I'm not right. So it wasn't you. It was me just asking the question. So for the record, you're not saying nothing bad about these people. But
I think it's more of a they don't believe me more than a race thing.
Right. There you go.
After 47 years, after 27 years that I didn't come forth, they looking at it like, well, why did you wait so long?
And probably
waited that long if you knew who killed this man. Right.
They're very powerful. They were all powerful they were all powerful and could easily kill you back in those days.
Know it.
So listen, the other thing is we're going to get ready to wrap this up. We have your story. We'd love to have you on again for a follow-up to see the course of the investigation, but also maybe even a third time if we can arrange this polygraph. So what I want to do is wrap this up, but I need to ask you this. If you could address anybody in Hoffa's family, what would you like to say to them right now about what you've been going through and what they've been going through and, what you're trying to do?
You know what, Will? I've been there already. I've talked to Barbara. I've talked to Hoffa Jr. over the phone in his office in Washington. Her when she was still on the bench, a judge down in Arkansas, Alabama, whatever state that was. But I throughout the years, I've talked to them, and then it got to the point where they said, well, Mike, you have to report to the FBI because we can't speak to you. Any information comes to us, they said, send them to them. So they cut all ties with me speaking to them directly,
We had a case like that where Robert Durst, the wealthiest serial killer in American history, I knew him, and I wrote a book about him, exposing him, really trying to help the victims, and how God, I believe, got me through a lot of dangerous encounters with Robert Durst. My book is called Sex and the Serial Killer, My Bizarre Times with Robert Durst. And the prosecutor in Los Angeles, who finally, after 20 years of him having murdered our best friend, or not my best friend, but his supposed, but Susan Berman, she was a friend of mine, but she, 20 years later, finally prosecuting this guy in L.A. And the prosecutor, even though he's under investigation for all these other murders, he sends out an affidavit to all the investigators and witnesses and potential witnesses telling everybody, don't talk to each other. Investigators don't invest because you're going to contaminate testimony either wittingly or unwittingly. And, he's worth $100 million. So that shut down all these other investigations, which means Kathy Durst, the first wife, murder went unsolved still to this day. And the man got convicted in Los Angeles and thereafter died of COVID in prison a few months ago. So I've seen that before where they inappropriately tell people to stop talking to each other. And it's a suggestion. Unless you see a court order, in my opinion, that's a suggestion, because and you get a court order, you have to obey it. But they only want to do that to protect their case.
Excuse me.
But I think witnesses and victims have every right, in my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, to speak to each other, to say, hey, what's going on? Right. Who's credible in this? Who should I be talking to? These are the kind of questions. All right, Michael, if there's anything else you want to add in closing, we're going to wrap this up, get this out, and I'm going to put this on my podcast. I ask people to go to your Facebook page. Tell the viewers what your page is again.
Yeah, you can go to Facebook, Petition to Find Jimmy Hoffa, and I got another one called Missing and Murdered in Michigan.
Okay.
You can see pretty much everything about this case on there. And you can also see me on the, like I said, History's Greatest Mysteries with the History Channel. What's
the name of that episode? Do you know? Or you can send me the link and I can put a link for it.
It's History's Greatest Mysteries, and just type in the disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa.
Okay.
And it's all there.
So whatever links I could put in my description, I will. Your Facebook about Hoffa, missing persons, all that. And all the links that I'd ask all my fans from inmate to roommate and all my fans on my true crime channel. I'm just blessed and humbled to have this opportunity to have a platform where gentlemen like Michael Yarbrough come forward and willing to talk to me to help them keep the word out and shed light on these cases that, sometimes a 100-year-old case can get solved by some miracle or new technology. Now, this is a case that's not quite that old, but it's 1975, and there's still living family members that deserve answers. They deserve to know what happened to their loved one. And, that's what we pay law enforcement for. Let them put the resources out there, maybe call it a training mission. Bring a bunch of the rookies out there with one expert and try to at least look over the site and find this man. And I ask everybody in law enforcement, we do nothing but respect law enforcement here. And, I defend the blue, I defend the federal agents. And I think everybody has the right intentions. It's probably maybe a matter of will because the case is so old. But the family members have to be remembered. We have to remember the victims only, always. And I always put a quote in front of all my books. All that's needed for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. That's by Edmund Burke. It's in all my books. And I see you as being one of those good men, Mr. Yarbrough. And so I respect you and we commend you for coming forward. And thank you for, being persistent to get on my show because I'm a newcomer in this. And
I wish you could help me write a book about this, man.
We'll talk.
I already got the name for it and everything,
All right, we'll talk. But let me sign off and get this done, and it's going to be out here in a few days. Thank you, everybody. Please hit like and subscribe if you're watching this on video. If you're enjoying it on my new podcast, please share it around. You can go and follow me on Official William Steele, and William Steele on Facebook, Instagram, Official William Steele on YouTube. Hit like and subscribe. I'm trying to earn an honest living, and this is what I'm doing now, and it's in my heart to help people and to just put my past in the rearview mirror, So thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you're listening to this on the podcast, have a great day. I hope you enjoyed mine. Please share it with everybody. Good night.